Welcome back to Important Library Stuff, a podcast where library staff share the inside scoop on all the stuff that happens at Prince William Public Libraries. And trust us, it's a lot of stuff. I'm your host, Emily Bickers, media specialist from the Office of Communications and Marketing, and I am joined each episode by fellow staff members and special guests who know a lot more on each episode's topic than I do. Today I'll be chatting about some of the back-to-school resources that can be accessed free through your library with Amanda Thompson, Youth Services Supervisor at Central Library.
Hello.
And Elizabeth Hensley, Assistant Division Chief of our Material Services Division.
Hello.
What were your 3 favorite books you were assigned to read in school, if you have them?
I actually do. I was thinking about this because I definitely think once I got to high school and college and got those assigned readings, that's when my opinions about the things I was getting was started to change. I was in elementary given A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein, and that was like my favorite thing ever. I was that kid that did not talk, but I did a presentation where I had to memorize one of the poems. It was a big thing. But then in high school, I read it again in grad school, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. That one just stuck with me, and I still love that book. I think it's a really important book. And high school, I think I read it in high school, I read it in college, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. It was, that was one of those ones I was like, this is fantastic. Those people are nuts. I love it.
So I almost picked that as well, but I couldn't remember if it was actually assigned or if it was just something I read, because this was kind of challenging in that I read a lot just on my own, and my parents had one of those classics set things, so I tended to just read whatever was around or what I could get my hands on. I did end up thinking about, of course, The Diary of Anne Frank, which really is just such a seminal work, and I keep thinking about that despite everything. I still believe people are good at heart, that particular line. The other thing was that I got to participate in Great Books when I was in 6th grade, and so we did read all kinds of different things, but I really remember The Veldt from Ray Bradbury. Like, that was just made such an impact. And then I have to share that I was assigned to read Dune for one of my English classes in high school, and we had the greatest teacher, Mrs. Norton, and we had a vocabulary list, which I think helped me tremendously, because I'm not sure I would have wanted to tackle Dune on my own without that guidance. But the coolest thing she did for us was she showed us the movie at the end of our class. Well, it was wonderful that she did play the movie for us. It
does kind of help bring the context in.
Absolutely.
I reread when I was in high school. We did the Joy Luck Club, and that's one of those ones. If I want to go back and reread it as an adult, because I think I'd appreciate it more. But there's a lot of different characters and the generational bonds and stuff. And I think we did watch some of the film, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
So with back-to-school resources, I thought we could cover them by category. So tutoring and homework help.
I think the biggest one we would really hope everybody is taking advantage of is Help Now, which comes from a company called Brainfuse, but is actually paid for by our state library. So regardless of where you live in our state, your local library should carry this. But they do offer live tutoring help. So students can sign on and get matched up with a tutor for whatever topic they need help with. So I think that's just a fabulous resource.
And we do have nice spaces available in our branches for tutoring groups and study groups to meet all the time. We're readily accessible, and they don't have to pay. But like sometimes they'll just get one of the wide tables right in the library, or they'll book a room, and it's very tutor study group friendly.
So room reservations. That was also a great school resource. So can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So with a library card, you can make your reservation online, or you can come into one of the branches, and we can make it for you, either in advance or if there's availability the day that you want to use it, we can do that. I would always recommend doing it ahead of time, especially with back to school. It gets a little bit more challenging. Because it's kind of like, New Year's resolutions. Everybody's coming back to the gym. Like, everybody's going hard because they're studying, because they're back to school, so they're really in the zone. All of our study rooms have different occupancy levels, and you can go online and see the policies for the rooms, as well as what branches have them and how many people can be in there.
That's great. And I'll also do a quick plug for our app, which makes room reservations pretty easy. It's called Prince William Public Library on both Android and on iOS. And you just put in your library card, and you can like scroll through the different room options per branch, and it makes it pretty easy to reserve.
And I will also add, just plugging the Help Now resource again, anybody needing to meet virtually for a study group, there is a service on that through Help Now called Meet, MEET, and people can go ahead and just create a virtual study group online using that, and it doesn't have the usual age restrictions and things that some of the other virtual meeting spaces have.
That's great. What about research materials? How can the library help me find reliable sources, and are there any online databases I can use?
And I think it's very important to point out that that they are reliable sources. These are essentially sources that have been through a publishing process, an editorial review process. So they are not just random websites you find on the internet, which can be helpful, but we still have to be careful about the kind of information we're relying on. So everything on our digital library has lots of helpful information. And I would say in terms of general searching, I will point out Explora, which is a really great resource for students in particular. And then we have something called Gale in Context Elementary for younger students, as well as a World Almanac for Kids Online. For those of you who may remember it, if you're a grown-up, we used to just grab this little book, paperback book off the shelf and just look up like how many, the population of a country or something like that. The World Almanac for Kids Online is so much more powerful than it was as that paperback, so definitely check that out. I would say topically, we do also have things like Biography in Context, Today's Science, A to Z Food America, A to Z World Food, A to Z the USA, and A to Z World Culture. And I'll just point out that those, especially when you get the assignment that you have to create make a food to bring in from a certain country. If you're still doing that kind of assignment, those are wonderful for that, as well as just finding recipes. But it's also reliable information, and it's already been curated. You can just go straight to those resources, and you don't have to kind of search the internet and hope that you're getting accurate information. We have Gale literary resources, and some that are very popular in terms of writing. When you have assignments to write about a particular issue, we have one called Issues and Controversies and one called Opposing Viewpoints in Context. So those are really great for looking at an issue from more than one point of view or one side. We also have something called Polling the Nation. You can get all kinds of information from polls that have been conducted through that. And I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of it. At one point, it was only available in-house. It is now available from your home with your barcode. We also do have, magazine and journal articles through Masterfile Complete, Magster, Gale Academic OneFile Select, and JSTOR is particularly popular for people looking for full-text scholarly journal articles that you may not always be able to get without paying a fee just on the regular internet. Then for newspapers, we do have quite a bit if you're doing newspaper researching. We have something called Heritage Hub, which was formerly referred to as Newsbank, Gale OneFile News, Global Newsstream and U.S. Newsstream, plus online versions and historical versions of the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, and L.A. Times, as well as something called the Virginia State Newspaper Package, which may give you some access to smaller local papers in our state. I didn't even cover everything, but that is a lot. And so we have quite a bit that you could actually look at as far as just when you're getting started on your research topic. There's quite a bit in our digital library.
And what's nice, I think, when I've looked in our databases as well, is they will indicate what type of article sometimes. Like some of them will tell you, this is peer review, this is a primary source. And that's a really helpful tool when you're conducting your own research to understand what exactly it is that you're looking at.
That's amazing. I also want to remind people to come into the library and ask library staff, especially if you're just getting started on your research and you're not even sure where to begin. They are super knowledgeable, will help you, find any physical texts, or will guide you to the specific online resources that can help your specific research question as well. All right, so educational materials.
I'd say coming from the online digital library sources, we offer LinkedIn Learning, which is extremely popular, as well as Universal Class and Creative Bug. Those are just a few things where you can go in and take a class or just learn about a particular. LinkedIn Learning is really good for just picking a small topic and just getting some videos on that one particular topic. So those are great. And I don't know if Amanda, if you've had experience using those or helping patrons use those or other sources.
I actually have my own saved profile for LinkedIn Learning videos because there's a lot of information that I've been kind of lately interested in UX. So I've been saving a lot of videos about UX resources. And I've been playing the last few weeks with Transparent Language online because I'm going to Sweden in the fall, and they speak a lot of English there, but I wanted to have some because I like to have some understanding of the language happening around me.
And that all reminds me, we also offer Pronunciator for learning languages, which has an online coach, so you can work on your pronunciation of the language, and it'll come back and tell you, hey, you were 43% close. Keep trying. But it also has the ability, if you're a native speaker of Spanish, for instance, that you can go in and you can be maybe possibly learning, Russian or something, and it would be working with you in Spanish and then working with you to learn Russian. So it doesn't mean that you have to be an English speaker to learn another language in that.
All right, for homeschooling, how can homeschool families and groups make the most of the library?
I think they can, all of the aforementioned digital resources that we've been talking about, I think are great for homeschool families to supplement their curriculums, whether it's the homework help or languages or ebooks. We have a lot of really good educational films, especially on Canopy. And we do have programs throughout the year that would be really nice supplemental material for their curriculum, whether it is our story times with our early literacy, do a lot of STEAM with more art kind of lean to them. One of my team members has a program called Little Makers where she'll have the kids kind of learn something and they kind of apply it in a way that's more art leaning. Or maybe if they want to do something history related, we've got Relic and we always have have history presentations during the summers as well. We have STEM programs all year. We just had a event about pollinators, so they had a really cool presentation about pollinators, and then they were able to release real butterflies into our pollinator garden, so that was really cool. Zoology, we always have animals in the library, whether it's the alpacas or yesterday we had the wildlife ambassadors, and they brought a possum and a turtle and a snake. And, they get to see the animals and they also get to learn about them. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And some of the branches do have homeschool meetup groups. Our community rooms are available for them to utilize. And, we do have books, too. We've got, we have a magazine. We've got a really nice nonfiction section. Our J nonfiction section is humongous. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of really solid resources for homeschool families to use.
Especially in terms of the programs, we do announce the whole slate quarterly. Mm-hmm. So September 1st, we'll be announcing all of our fall programs so you can get a good look ahead and, lesson plan around them or, to include them.
Yeah. We like to try to make it, I know for me especially, I really like to kind of make it, I don't want to say sneaky, but giving them something that seems I'm not actually, is this learning or is this fun? And then you're like, it's both.
Edutainment.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like I have to point out another feature of Help Now. There's a module on there called Flashbulb, and people can go in and create their own worksheets, games, flashcards. So you plug in the information you want, and Flashbulb will generate those materials for your children, students to use.
So makerspaces. For those who may not know, we have two makerspaces, Hive 8051 at Bull Run Library and Sudi 8601 at Central Library. They are designed for patrons 13 and older, but children under 12 can use them under direct supervision from an adult caregiver. Our very first podcast episode covers them in detail, so I won't go into everything. But in terms of this topic, how can they be used to help with school projects or STEAM learning?
We do have a lot of programs that will focus on learning something in one of the maker spaces, but maybe they want to learn about the process and choosing the right file and how and what type of materials. That's something that they can do. We've got the little spheros that are really fun, like kind of techie things for kids that they like to interact with a lot. And we have like the 3D doodle pens. And there's always chances to learn in there. Sewing, of course, as well. People make a lot of appointments so that way they can learn with one of the staff members and get the one-on-one attention that they might need if it's something that's newer for them. And we've got a whisper room that's pretty popular. I know we've had students use it to record, like if they're auditioning for like a band thing or something for orchestra. So if a student wanted to create their own podcast,
exactly,
hey, they could go and very easily do it with our whisper room, and we have all of the good suites for making posters and images and editing and learning to draw on there. I've been trying to learn the art ones because I can draw with a normal pencil, but learning to do it making digital art, it's like you have to like relearn your skill almost. So there's a lot of opportunity in there, and it's readily available, as you mentioned, for if parents wanted to help their child learn how to use something in there, that's something that they can absolutely go in and do.
I encourage anyone who hasn't been in before to just go in and do a tour during the open hours, and you can chat with staff about the project you're thinking of, and they can even let you know, like, oh, these are the supplies you'll need, and then you can set up a time to get personalized help.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well. It's good to bring some of your own materials. We have a certain amount, but if you want something very particular, then that'll make the process a little smoother for you, for sure.
All right, so reading recommendations. How can parents of younger children and teens get book recommendations, either to accompany their lessons or just for fun?
I mean, right off the bat, from my angle of it, certainly I think going to our staff is a great way to do it. But we do have the online resources and digital library resources that can be supportive as well, especially if you're wanting that good recommendation and you're not in the library, and it might be in time of day when maybe the library's not even open. But we do have a Goodreads account, and we actually publish quite a few recommendations and recommended lists through that platform. Through our digital library, there's a way to go in and look. We actually have a product called Novelist, but we have a version of it that's Novelist K through 8. So that way you could rest assured as a parent that your child is only getting a recommendation up to the 8th grade reading level. More generally, there's Gale Books and Authors, a wonderful product called Book Browse. Wowberry is our own newsletter that you can sign up for to see what new materials are being added to the collection each week. So I highly recommend that. We have a great product called Read It, which is actually geared for either young adults or adults who maybe are learning English as a second language or having some sort of challenge with that. So it is actually meant to address anyone who's learning how to read. And then some other things that I'd already mentioned, the Tumble Book Library as being great for very young readers, but we have something called Teen Book Cloud. This geared definitely only towards young adults or teens through the digital library, just as it's almost like a streaming ebook service because you don't actually need to download like you do with some other products. So that's those are some suggestions from the digital library side of it.
I second Novelist. I really like using it. Someone might really like Rick Riordan books, but maybe they like it for different reasons. And maybe you liked it for the mythology, or maybe you like a sense of humor or a tone, or if there's something about it that's mysterious or if it's something scary, or if there's something in that you don't want. It's really helpful to get you filtering that stuff out. So that's, I think, a really good resource. And of course, coming in and asking us, we love doing that. It's to put it so simply. And one thing I think that's always kind of fun for a patron is amongst staff, we've all probably read thousands of books. So somebody will know how to find something for you. So when you get the little middle, for me, I had a little middle grader who was really into witches, and mom was like, help. So I was like, let me tell you about Poppy Pendle or whatever her name, the little witch who likes to bake. And you find things that work for what they want, and it's like it's the witch, but it's not scary. It's actually very cute. Or one of our adult patrons, he comes in and he's going through like some 100 books to read, like classics list. And he's so much fun. He comes in and he's like, what's next? And I gave him a copy. I gave him My Antonia by Willa Cather because I was like, I feel like he's going to like Willa Cather. And he did. He loved it. So now every time he comes in, he goes, My Antonia. It's really fun to help people with that goal and be like, well, here's this other book. It might not be on this wonderful classics list, but it is pretty classic, and you'd probably love this. It does add a nice little, it does like put a little extra spark in the day when you have those good questions like that. Like, let me help you find this really awesome book.
I also wanted to mention two things. For teens 12 to 18, we have the YA Book Box, where you can fill out a form with your likes and dislikes, and library staff will pick books with your interests in mind and put it in a box with snacks that you get to keep. And we have a podcast episode, December 2023, was about that. So you can listen to that in more detail and hear from teens who gave it a try. And then for adults, we've recently introduced online My Next Read, which is similar to the YA Book Box, a little less fun because, adulthood. But you fill out a form with your interests, and library staff will email you personalized book recommendations and a link to our online catalog where you can place holds on the titles that look interesting to you. All right, so testing. We are now talking about the end of the school year. It has just flown by.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any practice tests or study guides available for college or military entrance exams?
Well, we do carry online Learning Express Library, and this is the official name of the other product. It's called Gale Presents Peterson's Test Prep. So if you go looking for it under the P's, you won't find it. You need to go to G for Gale Presents. But both of those offer versions of the ASVAB and other kinds of tests you can take for different vocations, or even SAT and GRE for that kind of thing. And what's great about it, you do create an account, but that way, if you have to stop in the middle, you can stop and then come back and pick up. You can also maybe just go through half of it and realize, oh, hey, I'm actually in pretty good shape. I don't necessarily need to finish out the practice test. So we do have those kinds of things. I will say that Learning Express Library does a really good job of also offering some modules for brushing up on your math skills or your grammar skills. So it's something a little bit even beyond your typical practice tests.
Awesome. What about test proctoring? Does PWPL offer test proctoring as a service?
We do. You just have to coordinate with us ahead of time. There's more information online and what branches you can go to do it with. We do have some stipulations for what we can and cannot do. So if you just send us an email, we can help you figure it out.
All right, continuing education. For adults who have not finished high school, they should know we award scholarships to selected students to attend Career Online High School, where they can earn a high school diploma and career certificate in a field that interests them at no cost to them. More information on the program and the steps for how to apply for a scholarship on our website, pwcva.gov/library. Are there any other resources for adult learners at the library that we haven't already covered?
Well, I will just point out that Help Now is just such a great resource. Also has a specific adult learner tab that and pulls together all of the things that they offer, just geared for people in that category. There's also that Read It source that I had mentioned earlier, but there is one that we've gotten a special grant for, so we do have access to it through the end of this year, and it's called News for You Online. So it's especially geared toward people either learning English or maybe English isn't their first language. So that's an excellent resource for them.
We do always offer conversation groups for people learning English as well. They're very welcoming of any level of proficiency that you have. We have, I know in a couple weeks, Central has a baby massage program for new parents. Point being, like, we do offer a pretty wide net of events that can help with any sort of information really that you're looking for, whether it is conversation or a baby massage. Or we have a lot of local history opportunities. If you want to do work through your genealogy, you can do that with our online resources, or you can make an appointment with Relic and they can help you go through your family tree.
Any parting thoughts or tips?
I would just say start this back to school routine early. Start waking up at a reasonable hour. Get some kind of structure before they have to get back to school.
I would say if you've heard anything during this podcast that you thought, oh, that was something I didn't know, or oh, that's something I need to go check out. Oh, yeah, that sounds really good. Set a reminder if you in whatever way you do that, even if it's just a Post-it that you're going to scribble on where you say, check this thing out that I heard on the podcast, or go visit the PWPL Digital Library to look up all of these sources we've been talking about. And then the next time that you see that, then you sit down and maybe pull it up on your computer or your tablet. Obviously, we mentioned our mobile app, which has a lot of functionality, but I will say that some of the resources we mentioned on the digital library are probably better viewed on a larger screen. So just keep that in mind in some cases. And we really hope that we really hope that you make use of this. And if you do find a good nugget that helps you, and you want to share it the next time you're in the library, or even send it to our web page where we get those communications, we always love to hear how what we offer helps you live your life and how it helps you enjoy your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
I will close us out with a quote from the book referenced in the episode title, The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. Even strength must bow to wisdom sometimes. Thanks for listening, and join us next month for the next episode of Important Library Stuff.